Welcome to OneCast by Sterling. Today we're taking you into the world of healthy living, healthy lifestyle, healthy eating. What does that mean? I am here with the CEO of Sofresh, Mr. Olago Balugun. And we are going to be talking about hacking, ways to hack healthy lifestyle or healthy living. What does that mean? It's a new year. Yes, we understand that the first month of the year is gone, but we still have 11 months to go. So this is a man who has changed, the face of healthy living in Nigeria. He's changed the face of healthy eating in Nigeria. And it's important that, we get the tips and hacks from him in 2024 before we really dive into the year deeply. So welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great. So let me ask, how are you feeling?
Very good.
Very good?
Feeling great, yeah.
Good. I'm glad to hear that because, we're talking health. So I need to know that you're feeling good. So I'm quite interested in what actually launched you into the journey of healthy living, healthy eating. Why food? Why not fitness? Why food?
A lot of times I've thought about that question. I basically grew up living this life. I didn't call it, healthy eating or healthy lifestyle at that time. I could remember vividly growing up when my dad was going to eat rice, for example. That meal wasn't complete if you didn't have, tomatoes, vegetables by the side. So that was just how I grew up. And when I got to Lagos, the first contrast for me was that it was very difficult accessing really fresh fruits and vegetables from the market, the way I've been used to, growing up in Ilorin. And so I thought to myself, this is something I could fix. Why don't I start a fresh vegetable and fruits market where people can access, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, all under one roof, very convenient, very serene environment. And that's what, really launched me into this journey.
Interesting. So I did a little bit of digging, and I know that you've worked in the fast food industry before. So would you say, why did you go into fast food? One, and did it have any impact on your interest in actually starting your own establishment?
So fast food was just the first available job that I got. So I finished school, I was looking for a job. I saw this advert, UAC, put in the application, and that was the first job. I needed to earn money. I just finished university. So that was my first job. I spent just about 6 months, but it was a very rich experience for me because I was, working in the restaurants. I knew everything about running a restaurant. I basically gave myself wholly to that experience, even though it was a very short period. I had no idea I was going to run a restaurant type business in the future. It definitely didn't have an impact on me starting because, like I said, we started out just, selling fruits and vegetables. And then along the line, the business evolved into providing fresh, healthy meals. And the experience really came in handy at that very early stage, just how to run, manage a restaurant. I had that experience. So the experience came in very handy.
Okay, so I read that you're actually very passionate about food in Africa. What about food in Africa are you passionate about?
So food, right? Food in general is the driving force for humans. Right from when we are born, the quality of the food we eat impacts our intellect, productivity, how well, people grow, how well children grow and develop at that very early stage. And all through our life, it continues to provide our fuel, for us to live through lives, building new cells and all of that. So food is a very, important and integral part of humans. And, for us in Africa, there's still a lot of gap, in terms of, nutrition, especially when you go to, the less privileged areas within the communities in Africa. There's a lot of malnourishment, and then even for people that have access to this food, sometimes the way we balance our food, we don't get the right mix of what we should be eating per time. And because like I said, food really impacts how productive a nation can be. And because if you remember what I said, if food impacts how intelligent people will become right from when they are young, that means it feeds into the society when they are old. And that's why I'm very passionate about food. Africa should be a continent that can feed itself, not just any type of food, but really good, nutritious food that can, help boost, productivity. And that's why I'm passionate about it.
Interesting. So, you've talked about the importance of, healthy food and healthy, I guess making healthy choices. But I'm actually thinking about how to make healthy food accessible to a lot more people, because yes, we do have food around us, we do have plants around us, we're rich, but not everyone can access it in the same way. So what do you think we can do, or we need to do, to be able to get, make it accessible, or whether accessibility is even the problem?
So you've touched on, very interesting points. We have, the first notion I also like to correct is almost any food that grows out of the ground is healthy, right? And you have abundance of that, all around us. Affordability becomes an issue. Then, the convenience of accessing it when we need it also becomes an issue. You'll find out that, for example, when you look at the restaurant industry, the fast food and all of that, even the FMCGs, to improve affordability, there's compromise on the quality and the nutrition content of food. And that is where the issue is. So food is available, but the nutritional content has been compromised to reduce the affordability. And so I think for me, the first solution is to be sure that we strengthen and improve productivity in our agricultural sector. Food at the base level needs to become far cheaper, so that people can have access to this food, and it's readily available and readily affordable. So I think it's more an issue of affordability than access availability.
Okay. And I know that the next question I'm going to ask would require, it will probably be beyond you, but I would still like for us to discuss it. Why is it such a challenge to make it affordable? So we do have the produce, we have the plants, we grow them here, we're not importing them. So why are they so expensive? So you would go to other countries that actually produce their own food, you realize that it's cheaper. Even the ones that are not producing them naturally, it's cheaper. We have the resources, but somehow it's more expensive and more people cannot afford it.
So it's a lot of issues that leads to unaffordability of fresh foods in So let's take it from where it starts from the farms. There is so if you look at the infrastructure around the farms in terms of road network, power, all of that, and that impacts transportation, storage of these fruits and vegetables from the farm to the people that need them. Of course, in recent times, in the last decade or more, insecurity has become a very big challenge. That's part of the things that it is increasing, the cost of delivering food to everyday Nigerians. Then the other part of it is how productive our farming methods are on its own. So you find out that, if you take any crop and compare what you will get from an acre of land in Nigeria, it will be far less than what you will get for, some other very productive, countries, even in Africa. So our productivity. So I'm cultivating the same amount of land. I'm expending the same amount of energy or even more because I'm not using mechanized, but I'm getting lower yields. So lower yields, from the farm is also, part of the things that, causes food to be expensive. And then you get lower yields. You don't have capacity to store, so you have a lot of wastage. And then transportation system is not very effective. So before it gets to the urban centers, the prices have really gone up. I know because they are fruit, they don't have a long shelf life. So it's not something that I can produce and store in bulk for 2, 3, 4 months. And so all of that supply chain system around agriculture just makes the food very expensive by the time it gets to the end user.
It's quite sad because we're looking at availability of the raw, for lack of a better word, raw material, but before it gets to the end user, it actually becomes difficult to be able to access due to how the high cost of it. So I know that yes, your journey with Sofresh has been it's been over 10 years or so, right?
It will be 14 years this year.
14 years, so you're going on 15.
No, I'm going on 14.
Oh, you're going on 14.
Yes.
How do you think we're doing as a nation? Let's look at it from Sofresh's lenses.
Obviously, the country is in a very difficult place when it comes to the economy and how businesses are thriving, and of course, business thriving clearly depends on the consumers thriving. We've had an erosion of purchasing power. Had more people fall into the lower rungs of the economy. And it's almost like a progressive journey every day. So the country's in quite a difficult place right now. But the thing there is that when you still look at what we have as a nation, we have a lot going for us. The potentials are there to harness and correct costs. And as businessmen, private sector, public sector, we just have to keep doing the best we can, and hope that somehow the pieces will all fall together and things will begin to be on the upward trend again.
Yeah. So I'll flip it now. So as consumers, how do you think we're doing as a nation? From the perspective of healthy living and adopting healthy choices in our eating?
I think a lot has changed and is still changing, and I think it's really changing for good. If you look at the whole industry, healthy eating, fitness, wellness. For example, gyms now has become a mainstay of our society. Almost everywhere you turn to, you find a gym. So it's been a great leap from where we were coming like 10, 15 years ago. Obviously, we're doing well as a nation, but there's still more to do, especially at that infant age, because that is what really matters. The first 5 years, what a child eats has a very significant impact on their productivity levels when they grow up, and I think that is where the focus should be.
All right, great. So there are two things I want to ask. So you just mentioned something. I'll pick that up, but I'll go back to what I wanted to ask. So you talk about, the first 5 years of a person's life is critical. Can you touch on that a bit more? because I am not sure this is common knowledge, to everybody. So it'd be great to get that more insights into that. Why?
Okay. So I mean, the first 5 years of the development of a child, that's when you're growing your brain cells, you're growing every other cell in the body, and the quality of what you eat, is what forms the building cells for all of that. Even how tall people are is determined by the apart from genetics, which plays a big role. The kind of nutrition that's available to them will also impact their development, height, intellect, all of that. So that's just it. So at that developmental stage, is like the food that's available to them forms the building block of the entire body system. And that once that is done, it's like you've built a foundation, and then every other thing after that you're building on that foundation. So if that foundation is faulty, it's faulty.
Yeah. Okay, so going to that question, the second one. So you did talk about people are being more conscious of what they eat, the source of their food. And I'm actually curious. This is actually quite personal to me. So I'm curious about your thoughts on clean living. Being that you mentioned about being knowledgeable of the source, right? So where is my food coming from? What has been used? What chemicals have been used to even, grow the produce? Because that's also important, and that's a conversation that needs to be had. We don't have that conversation much. We talk more about the availability of the food and the affordability of it, but not the other things that actually go into making it. Yes.
So that I think that's a very, very valid concern. Yes, we don't have that conversation enough, and I think sometimes those things happen in stages. Because the first thing is, people even have to have that food to eat. But it's a very valid concern, because you have a lot of people, engage in unwholesome practice around how they preserve, how they ripen, food. And I think it's something that we really need to take on as a nation, and it has to come from the standpoint of regulation. There's not a lot everyday Nigerians can do. It rests on the government and companies. So companies like Sofresh being very particular about their suppliers, knowing their source, what they do, and all of that. And so I agree that there needs to be more regulation around what goes into our food, what's used to plant the food, store the food, and all of that. Because at the end of the day, every one of those things find their way back into our bodies, and sometimes the body finds it difficult to process some of those things, and then you have issues down the line from those things.
So I'm curious to know what are some trends you've observed since you started Sofresh, in terms of consumers' response to healthy living. Has it been positive? Have you seen tremendous a change in lifestyle, people's lifestyles? You did talk about more and more people are requesting for salads, so what are some of the trends that you've seen, interesting trends that you've seen?
The first 3 years were very difficult. People didn't even understand what we were doing. At a point, we actually wanted to close down because it wasn't making sense. People didn't get it. Like, what are you guys doing? At a point in time, we started actually selling other types of groceries. We're selling oil, we're selling cereals. I sold frozen chicken. Many people don't know this because then we just had to keep the lights on somehow. But then as the awareness started to grow globally, people just started to respond differently. And what I've seen is that it's gone from fad. So around, I would say 2015, 2014, 15, 16, it was more a fad. posing with a smoothie on Instagram made you, look cool. So I think it progressed from being a fad to people now realizing. I mean, so around that time also you had a lot of diets. People are doing keto, paleo, all of those things. So at that point I would say it was more of a fad. But that trend has gone. I think now it has come to stay. People really have connected with the fact that making those choices are very important for how well and how healthy they are. And so I'll say for me the trend now is that is become part of us. Like I said, even when people are making the alternative choice, they know, and they say, okay, maybe I'll eat this now. I can't come and go and die. Yeah, I'll eat this one, but later I'll correct it. But this one, yeah, we must eat it.
Yeah. Okay, so I like to present scenarios. So scenario one, I want to eat healthy, but I don't know how to start. I don't have the self-control to control myself from eating, cakes and sweets and fizzy drinks and all of that. I know that I'm getting pimples. I don't know how to control it, but I just don't have the willpower. I know that I need to change my lifestyle, but I don't know how. What advice would you give to me? Give me a hack, please. I am in dire need.
I don't know if there's any easy hack. Maybe one of those hacks is to get a good coach that can
can't afford a coach.
You can't afford a coach. You may not be able to pay a coach immediately, right? But I know that there are very good coaches online, and they give a lot of good free content. So I think I'll say that's a starting point, because what you consume and feed on, daily eventually impacts or influences. So give time to really understanding the why. And I think it's also important to have a why, a reason. When you have a very strong reason for making that shift, then you're likely to stay with it. So maybe that would be my only hack, to say that find knowledge online, coaches online, search, do a lot of research around what you need to be doing. And ask yourself, what could go wrong if I don't make this choice, either now or in the next few years. And I think those will guide and help shape how strong you feel about that. But I always think that it's important to, even if you can't pay a coach, can you get a group of similar like-minded people, your friends,
build a community that can help
okay,
you.
4-5 people, let's go on this journey. Let's hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
And I think that really helps.
I like what you said about finding a reason, because once you have a reason, it would always bring you back. So regardless of how difficult it is, you would, it becomes that motivating factor to help you to move. What are some hacks that you personally have actually applied to yourself to help you to stay on course? Because you've lived all your life eating healthy food, like us. So yes, what are some hacks?
So I don't know if I have any hack, honestly. Like I said, I just grew up eating this way. So just part of me. Just do it.
Just do it. Nike, right?
I really don't have any hack other than to say that so I have a clear reason to do what I'm doing. It's become a part of me, and so I just do it naturally. And I like to say, if you do something for 21 days or 60, it becomes part of you. So I think the biggest challenge is in starting. So start and just try to be consistent at it. If you, let's say you have a goal to do 30 days eating this stuff. If you do 20 days and you fall, it doesn't mean anything. Just pick up the next day and keep going. So I see consistency is always a hack to succeeding in anything, and it also applies to changing your lifestyle. So consistency.
Thank you for that. One last question for me. Just give me, I would like to find out or get some sort of wellness wisdom from you. Final words, wellness wisdom from you.
So it will still be back to eating. So for example, the World Health Organization identify like 4 key factors that influences lifestyle diseases, and food still ranks highest amongst all of them. Food, I think fitness, I think smoking and drinking, and one other thing. Food still rank high. So it's important for us to really pay attention to what we eat, especially once you cross. People say 40, as once you cross 35, you really want to pay attention to what you eat, the quality, the content. I think many people above the age of 40 still eat too much, because our metabolism slows down. Imagine your system has been working for the last 40 years. I just think it's really important to really, think a lot around what we eat, and the quality, the quantity, and the content, very important. And a rule of thumb is, you want to have as many food groups in your food every time. This is like common knowledge in the healthy eating industry. If you look at your plate, not a very deep plate, flat plate, half of it, make it your.
I like what you said. Not a very deep plate.
So your plate, half of it should be about your carbs. Yeah. So your rice, eba, whatever it is, a quarter should be, vegetables, and then the other quarter should be proteins. And that just kind of gives you a guide around, how to eat your plate. What I try to do is that every time I'm eating, I have my carbs, I have my vegetables, I have my proteins all at once. And I try not to. Now I even eat less of carb. I eat more of vegetables, and sometimes more of protein. So I say paying attention to the food we eat would be the biggest thing I'd like to leave with everybody today.
Interesting. Thank you very much for those words of wisdom. They'll go a long way. Thank you very much for coming on the show. We appreciate the nuggets that you shared with us. And in 2024, we will be going in. There's something that you said. For me, my key takeaway is knowing the reason behind why you're doing it, because that would always take you back. So it's not going to be easy to put away the candies and the cakes and the cookies and all of that. But if you know the reason why you should be doing that, then it takes you back to making the right choices. So thank you so much for that. And I am sure that our audience would also get some good, they'll take some learnings from the insights. So that brings us to a wrap. Thank you for joining us on another episode of OneCast by Sterling. See you again soon. Thank you.